What is going on, everybody? John and Pepe here with Howard Bender. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Playbook Game Day Preview Show. We are looking at the Friday 7-game main slate. Howard, the last couple of days, who's had some smaller slates that have been impacted by weather. This slate here, seemingly clear of the rain and cold and snow of the last few days, and should be a good, fun slate to go into the weekend with.
Yeah, definitely fingers crossed that, the weather all stays clear and we're good to go. But yeah, it looks like we've got a nice little 7-game late games, evening set. So some really nice pitching matchups going on there. Some very interesting places to target. I'm happy to get right into it if you are.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump into this 7-game main slate, taking a look obviously at some of the matchups that you mentioned here. Starting obviously 6:40 start time. We're gonna have to start paying attention to the start times here over on DraftKings and FanDuel with some of these earlier starting times in the spring. Some days they decide to go 6:40, other days they decide to go 7 o'clock. Starting off at 6:40 again, we have the Mets and Cincinnati kicking off a series here. And Cincinnati is a minus 115 home favorite there with an 8.5 run total. We know Cincinnati ballpark, very good for the offense there. We have Philadelphia versus Washington. Phillies are minus 180 favorites. Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies in that one. We have Arizona in Atlanta. Atlanta a minus 290 favorite. They're at home. Spencer Strider taking the mound for them. We got White Sox versus Kansas City. Kansas City a minus 175 home favorite. Brady Singer versus Eric Fed there. Not really great pitching matchups. Astros Rangers, a battle of Texas there. Houston a minus 126 road favorite there. 9.5 run total there in that game. Hunter Brown versus Cody Bradford. Seattle Milwaukee. Milwaukee sitting there as a minus 118 home favorite. Freddie Peralta versus Logan Gilbert. And last game of the slate, one that actually has a rain symbol. Howard, you'll have to tell me what's going on in the LA area in terms of weather for tomorrow, but the Angels minus 116 favorites somehow over the Red Sox. Griffin Canning versus Cutter Crawford in that one.
LA is about 8 hours south of me, so that would be like me asking you what the weather's like
It's the same state. You kind of have an idea,
New York, in like southern New Jersey. Can you tell me what the weather's like?
I was gonna say actually 8 hours would be like Delaware, I think.
So, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't know what the weather's like over there. I mean, there's a little bit of that, to attack. Right off the bat, for me, Freddie Peralta is the guy who stands out the most. I mean, Seattle just looks incredibly lost right now at the plate. Julio Rodriguez, just a man alone on an island. So there's so much going on there. They have the highest strikeout rate right now. We all know Freddie Peralta is a strong strikeout pitcher. I can almost guarantee that he's going to be the chalk. Like I'd rather use Freddie Peralta than to use Spencer Strider. I'd rather save the money because Strider's going up against Arizona. Now, granted, Arizona's on the road, and we'll see what happens with them with regard to travel. But I'd rather take that shot knowing that Seattle lineup is just completely punchless right now, as opposed to Arizona, who's been hitting the ball extremely well. So that's my high end pitch right there for who I'm using.
Listen, I like Freddie Peralta, as you mentioned, in Seattle right now, 32.8% strikeout rate on the year against right-handed pitching. That is the highest mark in baseball. 247 WOBA, 090 ISO, 196 average also against right-handed pitching. So they can't touch basically anything that's on the mound coming at them. This is kind of an interesting spot, though, because Logan Gilbert is priced above him, and this is a game that was pretty close on the money line, a low total. So, you really hope that win equity can come through for Peralta at $9,300. I do like Aaron Nola. I know he had a tough go in his debut, but I'm expecting a better matchup for him against Washington here. Cutter Crawford, again, we've talked about the Red Sox starting pitching. Brian Bayo gave up a couple of home runs to Oakland the other day, but then Nick Pivetta bounced back, shutting them down. Red Sox starting pitching staff right now is the best in baseball. Cutter Crawford coming off of a really good initial outing, gets Griffin Canning and the Angels here at $8,400 in the mid-tier. So, for me, I'm with you on Peralta, but then I like Nola and I like Cutter Crawford as like the next two guys down the list for me.
Yeah, I don't mind Nola. The problem is that Nola just really hasn't looked like Aaron Nola should look.
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the numbers that Washington's put up. I mean, it's not, the be all end all, but that's solid numbers against right-handed pitching. And with the way Nola's looked, yeah, I always kind of worry about that, especially just because that Washington kind of, looks in on that. I like the Cutter Crawford call. Absolutely. That's great. You can't say that the Boston Red Sox are the best rotation in baseball right now. Their stats right now are great, but
statistically they have the best starting ERA in baseball.
And as much as you like Nick Pivetta, way under on that strikeout prop. Was 3 strikeouts in 5 innings?
Yeah, I expected him to get deeper into that game like he did in that matchup against Seattle. Didn't happen. But still, Cutter Crawford. Now, to your point, we've just talked about how bad the Seattle Mariners are so far this season offensively. The Red Sox staff has started the season facing Seattle and Oakland. Now they're going into LA. So, they've certainly had the benefit of the schedule. But, I mean, the Angels have surprised a little bit offensively. Taylor Ward has been really good to begin the year. They obviously have Mike Trout, but I'm not expecting them to continue to hit like this. So I do like Cutter Crawford here in the mid 8K range.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying anything. I'm just taking away your ridiculously inflammatory statement of that the Red Sox have the best pitching in baseball right now.
As we sit here today, starting pitching rotational ERA, the Red Sox
just specify statistically. That's all. Just specify statistically that they're better. I mean, that's
true. Any value pitching for you here? I mean, there's not a lot of great names as we kind of work our way down the list. The Red Sox offense certainly, they only scored 1 run against the A's the other day. Maybe Griffin Canning bounces back from his first tough start there, but Quintana in Cincinnati, Tommy Henry in Atlanta. It's the first official Patrick Corbin day of the year, which we're all about stacking against.
I love celebrating anti-Corbin Day.
Yeah, so really
Hunter Green has a little bit of appeal only because the Mets the Mets. I don't know what's going on with them, and I'm not a huge Jose Quintana fan there. So I do think that if you were looking to pay down below Cutter Crawford, then you could look at Hunter Green. I love Hunter Brown. I really do. I just don't like the matchup against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only real concern that I have there. I don't like that matchup. So what I'm probably going to be doing on this slate is I'm probably going to be playing the chalk, which will end up being Freddie Peralta and then paying down for like Cutter Crawford. But going further down beyond that, I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, listen, even Hunter Green's only $8,300. There's really not a true value starting pitcher, at least yet, on this slate. We'll see if anything changes when it comes to the starting rotations. Going out to the catcher position, they finally did it to us. They bumped our guy. He's $4,200 now. Still well worth the price at this point. I mean, the way he's been hitting the ball in the middle of that lineup, gets a lefty in Cody Bradford here as well. I mean, Yanier Diaz, he's still my heart. I'll just keep plugging him in as long as he fits into the build for me.
Yeah, big fan. But again, I'm worried about paying up at the catcher position here. Sure. And, as much as I like Diaz paying $4,200, when we know we're going to pay up for at least one starter, and then our mid-tier start, our lower price starter really isn't that cheap either. Sure. I'm going to go back and look at the value. The names that pop the most for me are Travis d'Arnaud going up against Tommy Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And then Francisco Alvarez actually against Hunter Green. I feel like, if we're going to talk sneaky stacks at any point, I do feel like the Mets could be a sneaky stack only because Hunter Green has not looked that strong. He didn't have a strong spring and he didn't have a great, season debut. So Travis d'Arnaud is probably like my cheap catcher there. Mm-hmm. If I really want to go down further, I can go to Francisco Alvarez.
I like it. And you're not wrong. The numbers for the Mets against right-handed pitching in the year are terrible, but Francisco Alvarez has obviously been a guy that's hitting, and there's certainly plenty of potential upside in that Mets lineup with Alonso and Lindor and whatnot. And Cincinnati, as we've talked about, a small ballpark, very, very good for offense. Cheap guys. Again, we have a righty on the mound, so there is a good chance that we see Reese McGuire. He's $2,500, going to hit for the Red Sox at the bottom of their lineup if you're just looking to straight punt there. And then obviously we'll see who ends up starting for these teams at the catcher position. Moving over to first base. We got a couple of lefties versus lefties at the top, but Olsen and Harper against Henry and Corbin. Neither of those matchups scare me. Off of either of those two plays, Harper had a double home run game the other day. It is Patrick Corbin. Tommy Henry had a really tough go in his first start. Matt Olsen looking to pick things up for him there.
Yeah, lefty on lefty doesn't bother me. Harper's been nailing lefties for quite some time anyway. So I like that. And I probably like that a little bit more than I like Matt Olsen against Henry, just because Harper does have traditionally better numbers against lefties than Olsen does. He is cheaper. And again, it's targeting against Patrick Corbin. Again, if you wanted to look at that, like, anti-Hunter Green, sneaky stack, Pete Alonso definitely makes the grade over here. I'll avoid Christian Walker. I'll avoid the Diamondbacks just going up against Spencer Strider. I don't feel like there's a need to pay up for any of the Diamondbacks when you're looking at a tough matchup there. Cassis is a lefty bat against Griffin Canning, so I'm not against that. I kind of like Pasquantino.
Okay.
Going up against Eric Fetty, who, again, I don't have a lot of love for Eric Fetty. I don't think anybody really does.
I was gonna say, who does?
So, well, his mom maybe. So I kind of, I'm looking, in that Pasquantino, maybe Christian Encarnacion Strand, even Sal Perez. Although I might as well just use Sal Perez for, well, I don't want to use that kind of money at catcher. Ugh.
I like CEH. Obviously, the batting average, people see 192. It's like, but 4-game hitting streak, back-to-back games with doubles. They were on the road for those games. Now they come back home against a lefty in Quintana. I could get behind some Encarnacion Strand there for sure. Value plays at the position. Let's see. Anybody stick out?
Andrew Vaughn, I actually like against Brady Singer. I think that's a good solid matchup. And then I'll give, also I won't hate on Jared Walsh going up against against Hunter Brown. If Hunter Brown doesn't have his stuff, right, Jared Walsh, is definitely a possibility that you could tee into. Yeah,
listen, Jared Walsh healthy, right? We talked about this the other day on the show. Came through with an RBI double and a run scored in that game. Scored fantasy points and all but the opening day for him. He had a home run already. Jared Walsh was a very good player a couple of years ago for the Angels before the issues that he had last year. I like that. I like that play for sure. And then we'll see if anybody pops in to the starting lineup here. Could obviously make a lineup for us. At the second base position, Ozzie Albies is your top price guy. He's got a lefty. They're in Atlanta.
You can say all these great things about Jose Altuve and Marcus Semien, but it's Ozzie Albies against the lefty if you're paying up.
Yep, I agree with you. Altuve homered last night, but Albies is probably where the chalk is going to be here. Jonathan India, 4,500. Is he a lefty? No, he's right. Yeah, Jonathan India against Quintana is not bad at 45 there. Let's see. Emmanuel Valdez is 34.
Yeah, I was looking at Valdez against Griffin Canning. I thought that was kind of a nice little pay down for us.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a huge amount of value at this position right now.
Do we think Bryce Terang keeps running?
I do think that Bryce Terang can keep running. I don't hate the play. I don't love the play.
Okay.
But I mean, listen, I think that, for the fact that he's only costing you 3,000, if you're kind of gonna, punt this position, then maybe that's the move. Your boy Pablo Reyes gonna play?
No, not with a righty on the mound. He'll play with a lefty on the mound. Reyes did come through for us the other day, though. Blaze Alexander against Strider probably won't go there.
Is this our first show since that lineup?
Yeah.
What the hell?
What a lineup that day was. Well, 183.8.
Lineup.
183.8.
Damn.
Top 5 lineup in the single entries if you played the $5 or the $12 top 5 lineup. So and we saw some of your messages. So you guys played it, and obviously had a pretty good night there. So let's see. We got a little bit to live up to here, Howard. On the pre-show.
I don't mind it, man. I think we're cruising through this slate right now. I feel really good about a lot of our options, both our pay ups and our pay downs.
I agree with you. Moving on over to third base here. Austin Riley has struggled to begin the year, but he does have the Tommy Henry matchup at 57. Devers at 54. You have Bregman versus lefty at 48 as your top 3 price guys here.
Yeah, absolutely. Riley probably the number one target there. I'm just not a Tommy Henry fan at all. You could go Devers. Bregman's weird, right? He's in a contract year, but he's out of the gate slow right now. Eventually he'll pick up, but I'm just not loving on him all that much right now.
Mhm.
So Riley, Devers, Michael Garcia. Holy cow, that dude's off to a tremendous start. He's not somebody who normally hits for power,
No,
but
he had
he's
4 total home runs last year. He has 3 already.
right. Yeah. So I mean, and again, it's Eric Fetty, so definitely don't mind looking at that. Alec Baum against Patrick Corbin. That definitely should stand out to everybody.
Yeah, I probably get some Bohm in my lineup here at 4K. It's a good, really good price tag. For if Merrifield doesn't find his way into the lineup, even at 3,800,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
could be a little spend down spot for him. After that, I mean, I've been playing some Lipscomb lately. I don't know if we would go back to the well against Nola there at 27. I don't know if Ezekiel Duran would be the one to start for Texas or if it'd be Smith.
Well, that's the thing. Josh Smith actually qualifies only at shortstop here on
Okay.
DraftKings. So, but they got both of them into the lineup the other day.
Yeah.
Corey Seager got a day off from the field, and he ended up as the DH, which let them put Valdez at. They put Valdez at third and Josh Smith over at short. So, I think both of them, if you're looking for a pay down and you're looking to fade Hunter Brown, then it makes sense as like as a bargain. But yeah, it's not a lot of good stuff here at third base.
Would you do Brett Beatty against Hunter Green?
I would. I mean, I don't love it, but I mean, again, if what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and like get like the meat of my stack to go anti Hunter Green,
Yeah.
then I think Beatty makes sense. You go like Alonso and then further down.
Sure. Shortstop position as Bobby Witt. He's been off to a ridiculous start. Talk about spending out. We mentioned all the numbers for Fetty against right-handed pitching hitters. Rather, the last time he was in the league pitching consistently was 2022 for him. 508 slug, 388 WOBA allowed to right-handed hitters there. So, yeah, he may have some trouble here with Bobby Witt in this matchup. Most teams are having trouble. Trey Turner's right there against Corbin at 61, Seager 58. I'm not playing Ellie at 53, even though it's a spot for him. I think one of the top 3 guys there for me would be a fine play.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, yeah, and I'd prefer to pay up for Bobby Witt, but I obviously can't go wrong with Turner against Corbin or Seager there. Looking a little further down, again, Lindor, if you wanted to, play around with the Mets. I'm not ready. I'm not going to go CJ Abrams, even though he's a lefty bat going up against Nola. I'm not going to, kind of dive into that until CJ Abrams really kind of, turns it on.
I like Pena.
I was just getting down there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's his numbers against left-handed pitching are rock solid, or, at least they've been over the, since last year. So, yeah, I think Pena is a definite solid pay down there.
Yeah, and he hits towards the bottom of that lineup, so there is the potential for some wraparound there. Power hit a home run the other day. Kind of looking for a bounce back year. Last year was kind of a down year for him after a really good rookie season. So I definitely think that there's some love there. We talk a lot about Orlando Arcia, a guy that hits lefties really well. He also hits at the bottom of the Braves lineup, which means Acuna and Albies are just waiting to drive him in here against Tommy Henry at $3,600. So there's definitely some interesting value. Is Nato a lefty? No, Nato's a righty there. See any other? You mentioned Smith. He's 23.
Right. And Smith would be the guy to start because he is the lefty bat out of that platoon. Kind of have to also, we need to keep watching the lineups for is Justin Foscue. I think does he qualify at first, at only third? I'm not sure. Let me just kind of.
I think he was a second baseman. I was gonna say, I think we talked about it the other day. He was a second baseman.
Second base. That's, kind of keep an eye on that because, with Josh Young, they announced that he was out for 8 to 10 weeks, which means that, you could go with that platoon, that Rivera, Josh Smith platoon, and just lefty righty it. But Foscue is they brought him up,
Yeah.
And he can play the corner. So, it's something to just kind of, keep an eye on over there. Just keep on looking at the lineups daily, especially, if you get some favorable matchups.
Moving on over to the outfield here, Howard. Got Ron Acuna, Mike Trout, top 2 price guys, J-Rod, Jordan Tucker, a whole bunch of top price outfielders. We always say kind of pick your stack and build around it. Given the matchups, given the pitching on this slate, who are you looking to target at the outfield position?
Well, I mean, listen, anybody at the top end is definitely available here. Although, Julio Rodriguez, I'll probably fade just because I'm just not enamored with what's going on with Seattle. We've talked about the Astros. I mean, 2 home runs for Jordan Alvarez yesterday. And then Kyle Tucker. You gave out. You were on the Fantasy Alarm Show. You were talking about Jordan Alvarez. He double dongs in that game. I said Kyle Tucker at plus 240 to do 2 or more hits, and that paid off. So I'll pass on Corbin Carroll going with going up against Strider.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I think that the top end is the top end, and I mean, as long as you're not making silly choices, like you're not. I mean, listen, you want to go contrarian and go against Spencer Strider. We've seen him blow up before.
Sure.
I'm not gonna, go against it. I mean, but that's about your build. So those are the guys at the top end who I like. I like the Astros, and I like Acuna, and I like Trout. And that's probably where I'll live for any of the top.
I got a feeling we might get a leadoff homer from Kyle Schwarber in this game. I know when you play Schwarber, you're banking on the long ball there. I know it's a lefty matchup for him as well, but what does Patrick Corbin really have left in the tank? We know Schwarber. I think he leads the league in leadoff home runs over the last couple of seasons, so could see him go yard. I like all of Cincinnati against Quintana. Spencer Steer, $4,700, obviously looking pretty good. Ozuna double donged the other day. He's got Tommy Henry at 45. I asked you on the show, Howard, that day we put up that big number. Ozuna or Duvall? You're like, I like Ozuna over Duvall here. Good call on that one there, sir. 2 homers in that game. He's $4,500. Castellanos, big in the game here, coming probably against Corbin at $4,400. Langford, $43. I mentioned Taylor Ward with the power. Like a lot of guys in this mid 4K range, I think we can build some lineups around. Yeah,
I definitely think that we can build a number of lineups around just, this without having to spend, all the way up. I definitely think that's worthwhile. And then, what? I think that we can find a fair amount of value here at the outfield position as well. Really kind of like deep dive here. That Kansas City outfield, if we're going to pick on Eric Fetty, right? Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, like Hunter Renfroe, MJ Melendez, I think Kyle Isbell is a lefty. Renfroe's always got home run potential.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a huge Melendez guy, but I feel like you can get some value out of that KC outfield. I think that's a pretty fair spot to be in.
Sure. I don't mind that. I like Chas McCormick as well at 4K. Gets that lefty matchup. Be tracking, just stacking Houston potentially in that matchup against Cody Bradford. McCormick's a guy that has some power there. Gavin Sheets has some power. He's a lefty bat. Again, White Sox lineup kind of sucks, but he gets Brady Singer. I'm a believer in the talent of Chourio. I don't know if going up against Gilbert is always the way to go, but I do.
Well, it depends. Is it going to be Logan Gilbert, or is it going to be, Wednesday's version of George Kirby?
It's true.
What the hell happened there?
Yeah, that was not expected. So if Chourio is leading off in this game, I think there's some interest. Obviously has power and stolen base potential for him there. You mentioned already the Kansas City guys. Kind of working our way down. Let's see. Any obvious plays? Is Fairchild already? Could see Stuart Fairchild in this lineup at 3K against Quintana. With Benson obviously being a lefty. Myers 3K. I know you've been a fan of his. Jacob Young got called up. Our guy Matt Sells wrote up in his prospect article last week that we could see Jacob Young called ahead of Wood and Cruz, and sure enough gets called up today. for Victor Robles going on the IL. So
well, he's not as good a prospect as Wood or Cruz, and
sure.
Wood and Cruz are going to stay down there for service time reasons. I don't mind Jacob Young. I thought that Young had a really good spring. He was battling back and forth with Victor Robles, but Young is up because Robles is out with an injury, and they need a good defensive center fielder. He's not up because he was ripping it up.
No, I understand that. He just brings some elite stolen base potential. He had 13 stolen bases in 33 games last year for the Washington Nationals. So got a righty on the mound. If you think Aaron Nola has lost his touch a bit, then there's an opportunity maybe for Young to get on there and steal 2 bags and pay off the price tag for him at $3K. Dario Blanco is another guy that if he just finds a way to get in the lineup, he can steal 2 bags the other day as a pinch runner. Again, his job is to get on base and steal. So if he finds his way into a lineup, you can take a look there. Trying to see if there's anything else down here. Nothing obvious. We'd probably have to wait till some starting lineups come out to see who's in and out. Agreed?
Definitely agree.
All right, let's go build a lineup. We liked Freddie Peralta and Cutter Crawford here. I think was the 2 we were looking to target.
Yep.
We had a catcher, d'Arnaud. I think we like there.
d'Arnaud is definitely looking like it. We could stack that bottom end of the Braves lineup if we wanted to.
With
right?
Arcia?
I mean, where's d'Arnaud been hitting?
I felt like he was hitting like 6th, wasn't he? Let's see.
So yeah, I'm looking at like maybe that 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, let's see. They didn't put him in there. Actually, he had 8th. He had 8th the other day. Okay, 8th. But that was against a righty with a lefty on the mound. They may switch him and Michael Harris in that spot. I'm trying to see. Did they face a lefty? They faced Lopez. They didn't have him in the lineup, obviously. But Harris hit 7th that day. Let's see. Yeah, we don't have.
All right, listen, it's just something to kind of investigate there as we're going through it. But all right, yeah, let's lock in d'Arnaud.
Okay,
pay down there. First base.
You liked. I like CEH. You like Pascantino.
Yeah, either or. Go ahead, put one of them in.
Kind of like a red stack here.
All right, red stack.
Second base, we did Albies. Let's see if what we can fit in here. Do we have do we have a cheapie somewhere?
For what? Third?
Or shortstop? Just kind of building our lineups. Do we have an obvious?
Well, if you want to go real cheap, you can go Josh Smith for shortstop.
I like that. All right, Josh Smith. We have 4,100 for the third base and 2 outfield spots here, Howard.
Okay. Well, why don't you what's Michael Garcia?
Garcia is 43. So you can do 43 for him. And we need a 3K. Mention Isabel. Is he a lefty? Do Kyle Isabel here?
He is a lefty.
All right, that's 45. That kind of pairs with the Garcia.
So does that give us what we were looking for in that mid-tier price range?
It does. Let's see. If we did Chaz, do we get one of the other 5Ks? We don't. We get Schwarber, though. Could do Steer. Gives us 43. And it still gets Chaz. How'd that? Something like that? Example lineup?
Something like that. It's very hard for me to see on this screen. It's so
small right there. I'll zoom.
I'm like blind as a bat here.
All right, we got
that coming on.
I'll zoom in for the folks. We got Freddie Peralta, Cutter Crawford, d'Arnaud, Encarnacion, Albies, Garcia, Smith, Isabel, Steer, and McCormick. So we got a couple of Reds, we got a couple of Braves, got a couple of Royals, we got a one-off game stack of Josh Smith versus Chas McCormick in Houston, Texas.
That'll work. I don't love it.
Okay.
I definitely don't love it. I wanna be more invested in abusing Patrick Corbin, to be perfectly honest.
I'm fine with that. Okay,
like,
so let's move.
Get rid of Michael Garcia.
Yeah.
Put in Alec Baum.
I like that. Boom. 4K 4K Bohm.
And
Okay.
would that get us him and Castellanos?
Oh, yeah. Castellanos is 44. We have 900 to play with here.
See, get rid of Isbell.
Okay.
That brings us up to 4,100 available there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody in that spot that we particularly like?
I mean, if Witt was the play, you get 3 stack.
If Merrifield is there, you could definitely do the 3 stack. Sure. What's well, what do we have?
We
Why
could
do we
go
have
off
McCormick?
Chad McCormick and go up to Schwarber. And that would give us a $3,100 outfielder, which
Yeah, see, I don't want to. No, take out Schwarber. I'd rather go with like closer to the mid-tier range in the outfield.
Okay.
Take out Fairchild. Let's see what we can. What do we got here? 40.
4K.
4K per guy. All right. Let me look at it on my computer.
Okay. We can go McCormick and Duvall. Gets us a righty bat there against Tommy Henry to go with Darno and Albies.
Oh, yeah. All right. And he's got some pop there. Okay. See, that'll definitely work.
I like the sack against Corbin there. So work sharp lineup. Obviously, this is a preview. Howard and I will be back live at 4 p.m. Eastern time with some official lineups that we can build off of, maybe find some more value to kind of go around, because it seems like we are going to be spending up at the pitching position here for this slate. Not a lot of value at pitching. When there's not a lot of value at pitching, Howard, it definitely gets a little difficult to get all those expensive bats in your lineup. That's for sure. We don't have to contend with Mookie Betts, thankfully, on this main slate. He's on the early.
No, but what we do, we get the opportunity like to pay up here. I mean, we're still at the mid tier for most of it. Like we've identified some decent spots to pay all the way down.
Correct.
Right. And we can go lower. We can go lower at catcher and free up another grand, depending on who's just, who's working it there. So that's the key thing for everybody who's watching, is understanding that, we're paying all the way down there at shortstop, and we could pay down even further at catcher, and we're still getting those mid-tier outfielders in there, which will help open up to maybe even get even a higher price guy.
Agreed. Yeah, we spent $5,500 on Ozzie Albies. He's our highest priced player. We don't have another player over 4,400, which is Nick Castellanos in our lineup. But to your point, could go down, play like a Reese McGuire at 2,500 a catcher. It'll allow us to go up and spend up at a different position. Could get an Ozuna over Duvall at that point if you spend down a little bit on Darno. So things like that will come about. We'll get official lineups for the 4 p.m. show. So make sure you like and subscribe. Don't ever miss a show that we do here over at Fantasy Alarm. And good luck with your preparations. We'll be back 4 p.m. and we'll talk to you then.